We're another step closer, you guys. I am working hard in my Getting My Life Together series, and we're working on the pantry. So I shared last week, I think it was, my husband's closet makeover and declutter. Well, now I'm tackling our pantry. So we basically have a closet size pantry with bifold doors. It kind of is a bit of a mess. When we first moved in, I did a sort of pantry makeover, and we just put some metal shelving in there, like the 5-tier metal shelving, and that's done the job for now. But we really weren't sure if we were going to end up doing an addition where we might have more pantry space. None of that has worked out at this point, and we needed the pantry to be more functional. This is a complete makeover of the pantry, tearing everything out, putting in all new shelving, replacing door. I mean, we're going all out. Okay, so this is for us a full renovation of the pantry. So this video is going to be part 1, and then in part 2 we'll put in all of the finishing touches as far as getting all the organization in there. I'm going to be making labels for all of my containers and all of that kind of stuff. That will be coming in part 2, but let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so here's the before of the pantry, and I'm gonna go ahead and apologize now if it sounds like there's a tornado during this voiceover. It is the windiest day ever, and it's very loud. Here is the before. As you can see, the organization we had previously didn't hold up very well, and just kind of ended up tossing stuff everywhere. I don't know. I'll pretend like I'm embarrassed. I'm not really. We are busy. I have 8 children. My pantry's a mess. Judge away. But we're gonna try to fix it, though. I mean, that's the thing. I don't just ignore my problems, right? I try to address them. So we're gonna attempt to fix this and see if we can get some better organization that, again, is easier for not only me to follow, but my family as well. I find that's the key. It's not so much that you, Mom, know where things go, but that everyone else does too. All right, so we are beginning by obviously just completely emptying the pantry. I'm trying to throw away stuff that's expired and that sort of thing along the way. But I also got 2 big bins from my garage, and I'm using those to kind of put everything in because I knew this project was going to take me more than one day, and I didn't want all of this pantry stuff just sitting out on the counter for everybody to mess with, and yeah, that would have been a disaster. So I had 2 big storage bins from the garage, and that was kind of how I separated most things into there if they would fit. Now, our kitchen did become a disaster, and there was stuff on the counter, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. So the bins I have found as a great way to help me when I'm working on projects like this is to kind of sort and organize as I go. And yeah, it seems to help in the long run. So I'm pulling out these metal shelves now, saying goodbye to them, not permanently. My favorite thing to do is to repurpose things. So actually one of those is going in our goat barn and one of them's going in our chicken coop to help organize and store things in there. Since they're metal, they'll hold up well. Now I'm taking this down. This is like one of those closet made shelf things. I think you can get them at, Home Depot, Lowe's, that sort of thing. Just not really the vibe we're going for. So I took that out, and then of course I had a bunch of holes to fill. So I just kind of sand those a little bit to get any chunks off so that it's a nice flat surface. And then I grab I can't remember what it's called. I'm clearly a #professional, but the drywall putty stuff, you put it in the hole, you make it smooth, you let it dry, then you come back and sand it and you can paint over it. And now we move on to paint. This is Behr paint from Home Depot. It's the Scuff Defense paint. I really prefer a matte flat finish to pretty much all the paint in my house. So sometimes I will get the Benjamin Moore paint. It's an expensive paint. So I get that for, areas that will be seen and messed with a lot. To me, this is the inside of the pantry. I'm not spending Benjamin Moore money. We're doing Home Depot Behr money on this one. So this is the color Muted Sage. And yeah, it's just, very much in the color palette of things that I've been enjoying for this house. So I'm just going to go around and paint the trim and then roll the paint on and do 2 coats. Away we go. It's gonna be all right. while all the paint is drying, I also sat down and used, some very professional materials here, like a checkbook as my ruler to sketch out my design for the inside of the pantry. I'd taken all the measurements and everything just so that I could make sure that what I was purchasing, everything was going to fit and work out how I wanted it to, so that, I don't put a shelf too high where you can't get anything off of it, because I wanted to do a little bit of offset shelving on the bottom and the top just to accommodate like our dog food bins and other things at the top that we don't need to reach as much. I just wanted to utilize as much of the vertical space as possible. Now comes the fun part. We do the shopping for the pantry. I've looked at a number of different closet systems. I've sketched everything out on the paper with the measurements. I came and looked at some options instead of doing the track system, because neither one of us love how that looks. That's what we have in both of our closets, but neither one of us love how that looks for the pantry. So I think we're going to do some brackets. It's a long story, but the walls in our closets are very thin. The sheetrock is very, very thin. So even with anchors, if it's heavy, it pulls out. So I wanted to make sure that the closet wall was a little bit denser, and we could actually do shelf brackets in there and be able to put stuff on it without the shelves collapsing. I'm going to look at some doors, because we talked about replacing the bifold doors with French doors, which is my husband's preference. It's my preference visually, not my preference to lift and carry doors and put them in my car or to ensure that I install them correctly. But we'll see. So much to do. I have all my measurements and such. Let's go into Home Depot and see what we can find and get done. And I meant to empty out my car before I came here so that I had plenty of room, and I did not do that. So I may have to go home and empty it out and come back if I end up buying things like doors.
It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be alright. I feel it in my heart. It's gonna, yeah. You're gonna find your way. It's gonna, alright. Hey. It's very hard to let things go. It's hard to carry on.
Believe it or not, I did manage to fit everything in my car. And this is all filmed, this shelving portion, in the same day, but you're about to witness my clothing change and hairstyle about 5 times, because I kept getting hot, and then I changed my pants, and it was a whole thing, but it is all filmed in the same day. So this was honestly the most time consuming. This took me a very, very long time, because I obviously want these shelves to be level. And the shelves that I bought at Home Depot were pre-cut. There was only certain lengths of them. So I had kind of a lot of weird parameters I was working around. In hindsight, I wish I just would have gone down to the lumber department and bought the wood and had it cut exactly the length I needed, because I ended up using way more shelf brackets than I would have had to. And just kind of jimmy rigging things, which is fine. I do love how it turned out, but in the end, it probably would have made more sense to just go get the boards cut to the right length instead of me attempting to do all of this leveling of boards across that are separate and mounted separate. It was a whole thing. I really liked these brackets because they kind of have a lip that comes around the front of the board, and you'll be able to see that once they're hung. But they did come with some really nice drywall anchors. But I did go ahead and go down to the anchors section and purchased some even more durable and sturdy drywall anchors, because I just really did not want these shelves ripping out of the wall. And a lot of times you don't realize how heavy the stuff in a pantry can be, between like canned goods and stuff like that. It gets heavy. I basically just started out making this bottom shelf level. That was the hardest part, was getting the brackets up and making sure they were level. Then you just, set the board down on top. And then there's these little tiny screws that you drill up from the bottom to hold the board onto the brackets. Now, in hindsight, when I was about 90% done with this project, my husband was like, "Oh, I should have gotten you the laser level." Yeah. That would have been really nice. Probably would have made this entire project go a lot faster, but we did it without a laser level, y'all. And they are level, so go me.
But if you won't try, you won't know what next is gonna come. You've got to just carry on.
So as I mentioned, I did do some of the shelving offset, as you can see, so that we would have more vertical space for things that are taller and, of various heights, and whether or not we needed to access them regularly, so on and so forth. But it worked out well. I really like how it turned out. Now the doors. My husband ended up doing the doors and I did not film it, but y'all, it was such a difficult, painful process. I'm not going to lie. Probably because we didn't have all the right tools, but it took him a very long time, but it is finally done. And we replaced the bifold doors with French doors. Good grief. I love how it turned out, but holy cow. Okay, so that is it for this part 1. Be sure to come back for part 2. Lots more to come. I mean, the grand reveal. It's always worth it, okay? Come back for the grand reveal. You don't want to miss it. And then I'm going to be moving on to the next area of my house that I'm going to be working on, which is the kitchen, in terms of getting the cabinets, like underneath the cabinets, all organized under the kitchen sink. I've been just researching different ideas, and I'm trying to get creative with things because we just don't have as much storage space in this house as we did in our last. So I'm trying to be better about getting creative with how I store certain things. So come back for the next video, more in the series to come. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.
I've been taking mornings slowly, waking up with the sweet sound of the birds, reading books.